Hello, my name is Desiree and welcome to my channel where I talk all things makeup and I do makeup reviews, makeup tutorials, and the occasional story time. So for today's video, I am bringing you another story time, and it's another paranormal experience that I've had. So if you haven't already watched that other video, please go watch that one too and give it a thumbs up. And if you like me and if you like my videos, then please subscribe to my channel. And if you have a paranormal experience, please comment down below and let me know. I really like to hear about your experiences and the things maybe you've been through. And let's jump right into this video. Just a backstory. The story I'm going to be talking about takes place in a house that I had to move to once me and my family hit hard times. We had to live with my uncle in his, at that time when he just first moved in. It was a big ginormous house, and I was about 11 or 12 years old. I want to say 11 years old when I first moved into this house. The first night I stayed in that house, I remember I got up. It was really late at night. This must have been like around midnight, maybe even 1 in the morning. I got up to go get a glass of water. I was extremely thirsty because I woke up feeling really hot. And so when I was walking down the hallway, I felt something walking behind me, and when I would turn around, there would be absolutely nothing there. So I thought, it's just a figment of my imagination. It's just me in a new house and I'm half asleep right now. That's seriously what I was thinking in that moment. So I go and I get a glass of water and I drink it, and then I start to walk back down the hallway when I get that same feeling again that somebody is walking behind me. A lot of things that happened in this house didn't start off fast. A lot of it did start out really slow. And some of the things were, if you left something on the table, you wouldn't find it there. Some things would be moved. You would hear somebody say something in another room and nobody would be there. And it was just little things like that. And then it gradually grew as one particular thing that I remember is I had this friend who had lived across the street from me, and I went to school with her, and the house that I lived at had a pool in our backyard. And since I was pretty new to this area, she was basically my only friend at this moment. So me and her would hang out a lot. We would hang out at school a lot, and she would come over to my house and we would get wet. So one day, as we were drying off in the front yard, she just decides to tell me if I seen anything yet. And I was like puzzled, and I was like, what are you talking about? And she told me that she had heard that my house was haunted. And I asked her, well, what do you mean by that? Because, I mean, a little bit of things have been happening, but nothing crazy, and like nothing really to write off as haunted just yet. And she said that she had heard from the previous people that lived there that that house was pretty much haunted, and that she had even heard that there was a buried treasure somewhere under my house. Of course, I didn't believe this girl. We were living in the house, and not too many things were happening again until one particular night when my grandpa and my uncle all decided to take off to Las Vegas. That left me, my dad, my brother, my mom, and my other brother, who was about maybe 3 years old at this time. It was just us, and I think a dog. And for some reason, the dog that lived there was running around the house barking at something that wasn't even there. I kind of just run it off as this dog is just kind of maybe losing it. Maybe he just wants to go outside. I don't know why this dog was acting so strange, but he did. And there was just something weird about the house this particular night that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I remember that I was walking around the house and I was wondering where my littlest brother was. And I couldn't find him anywhere, and I was calling his name out and I was trying to look for him, and I found him in the hallway, the same hallway that I felt somebody walking behind me a couple months before, when we had just first moved. Was just sitting at the end of the hallway, just staring at me in the dark. There was no light on. I turned on the hallway light and I said, what are you doing down here? And he didn't answer me. And I said, hello. I go, hello, hello. Dinner's ready. You want to come eat? And he didn't say anything to me. He just stayed there, sitting at the end of the hallway, staring at me like that. I got a little bit chilled out, but I went down the hallway and I shook him. And I said, hello. That's when he like just snapped out of it. And he looked up at me and he was like, what? And let me remind you, he's 3 years old at this point. He's 3 years old. And I said, what are you doing? And he looked around like he was a little bit confused himself, but he was a little kid and he just went right back to playing and just took off. At the end of the night, we were all going to bed already, and my grandpa had a bedroom to himself that was at the end of the hallway, the same hallway that I found my brother in. We were hearing stuff being thrown around in there. And again, my grandpa's not home. He's out in Vegas, partying it up, living life. So we opened up the door to see what was going on, and nothing was touched in there. But it was cold in that room. It was freezing cold. But there was nothing that was touched. So all night, all we kept hearing was things being thrown around. Cabinets being tossed over, papers flying, maybe like a book hitting the wall, or maybe something just pounding on the wall. Every time we checked that room, nothing was out of place. We just couldn't understand why we were hearing so many things. And at this point, the dog that was running around the house crazy was now scared and wouldn't dare to go down that hallway. Another experience that I had was, there was this one time when I was alone in the living room. I think I was doing homework or something, and I was in the living room, minding my own business, when I could hear a strange noise coming from the side of the house. The way how the living room was is that, like, say this is the living room. Okay, so on this side, this is the part of the house where we had just things in there, like some old toys, some old stuff for the pool, and, you know, it didn't lead anywhere. Like, it didn't lead to the backyard. And then the front of it had a gate that you can open. You could obviously hear it because it would do a squeaky noise. So the noise that I was hearing was like as if somebody was dragging something extremely heavy on this, you know, and I couldn't figure out what the heck that could have been, because again, there's stuff thrown there. So whatever was being dragged, it was like as if they were managing to miss every single thing that was on the side of the house. Of course, I was starting to get scared because I just thought if I ignored it, it would go away. And of course, that's not what happened. So I finally gathered the courage to walk up to a window that, you know, if there was some windows, I pull it down and the blinds shoot up and pitch black. There's nothing there. And while I'm standing there looking at pitch black, I can hear something still being dragged. Of course, I didn't know what to think at this point, so I'm not sure where the adults were, but I do remember I grabbed a flashlight, I went outside by myself like a brave little sport, and I flashed the side of the house, and there was nothing there. Okay, so the next thing that happened at this bizarre house was that one day, me and my mom and my brothers, we were all swimming in the pool one day. My mom was pregnant with my sister at this time, and I remember she decided to go swimming towards the end of the pool, which was the deepest, which was about 12 feet. We were only allowed to be on the other side, which was about 4 feet. Now, we weren't allowed to go on that side, so she was pretty much alone. So again, she was alone on that side of the pool. So I'm swimming around, I have my goggles, and I have like the little snorkel thing, and I'm just having a jolly old time. And I remember I picked up my head for a split moment, and all of a sudden I just see my mom go bloop into the water for like maybe like half a second, and then she just pops back up and she's like, oh my God. She said, who grabbed my foot? Who dragged me down? And I kind of like stayed still, and I'm like, oh, somebody's in trouble. And again, I look behind me, both of my brothers, they're drying out in the pool. I was the only other person in the pool with my mom, but I was on the other side of the pool, on the 4 feet part of the pool. She was the only one on that side. So who grabbed her foot and dragged her down into the pool side, the deepest part of the pool? So another incident that happened was, I had this Little Mermaid piggy bank that also played music. Anytime you put a coin into it, Ariel would turn around and some kind of musical thing would come out of her, and you know, it would, you know, some parts of the little piggy bank would glow. It was a beautiful piggy. Anybody knows me knows I love anything Disney, especially Ariel from the Little Mermaid. Anyway, So I remember I had my most prized possession up at the top of this. It was like a built-in bookcase. You could put a TV there as well, but it was basically a built-in bookcase, and it was huge. It took up half of the living room wall. Like, not even half, it took up the entire living room wall. And for me, because I was a little bit still young at that time, like maybe about 11, 12 years old, I would have to climb on top of this bookshelf to, you know, reach for anything. So that's what I did. I went to the top and I put my most prized possession at the very top of that bookshelf, and I left it alone. Now again, you have to either push a little button or put a coin in for that thing to move. Other than that, it's not going to move. So tell me why, after I had put that thing up there and I left it alone and I had stepped a few feet away from it, that it turned on by itself. It was like as if something was taunting me. I turn around, I look up at it, and I see the little arrow just twirling around and the little music's coming out of her. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's just a glitch. Nothing to worry about. So I continue walking away, and it turns on again. And she's twirling around, and she's doing the little musical thing. And again, I can't explain why that happened. It happened. At this point in time, we had a pretty good idea that our house was haunted. I mean, a lot of unexplainable things happened there, and even though we didn't physically see any apparitions or any ghosts, a lot of it was the things that we heard, a lot of things that we felt. Some of it was like a bit of negative energy. And it wasn't until one day my uncle's friend came over to our house one day, and he was walking up towards the house. And he said that as he was walking up, he saw a man standing by our tree, and he was bleeding from his head. And I guess he knew that this man was obviously dead. There was no way that somebody's just hanging out in our front yard with a bleeding head, you know? I guess, I'm not sure, but I guess he could see. I remember one time my grandpa told me that he was in the backyard, and in the backyard there's like these little sections where you can plant, you know, your stuff there, like some dirt area where you can plant your plants. And he was digging in that dirt one day, and he said he found this little box. He wasn't sure what was inside of it, but he said he found this little box. Well, he said that it was too heavy for himself to lift out from this area, and he put the dirt back over it because he didn't want anybody else to find it while he went to go get some help. So he goes and he gets some help, and when he comes back and he goes back to the same spot and he undigs that spot that he found, that box that he found was gone. It completely disappeared. So my grandpa just continued to dig because he thought maybe it was deeper than he thought. He never found that box. So that kind of ties into when that girl told me that there was supposedly buried treasure somewhere under my house, that she had heard that there's buried treasure. When my grandpa found that box hidden on the side of the house, I kind of knew that maybe that girl really wasn't full of crap after all. That's basically my story time for this video. Those are the things that I went through when I lived at this one particular house. And maybe it wasn't that scary to you as it was to me, but I think you had to be there to understand or to feel the scariness that was there. I don't think me telling it does it any justice. Me when I say that house was spooky AF, because whoever lives there now, God bless you. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, I'm telling the story the best way I remember it, the best way I know how. And I hope you enjoyed the story time, and please subscribe to my channel if you could be so inclined. And like this video and comment down below. Did you live in a creepy haunted house? Did you feel something funky? Did you experience something you just can't explain scientifically or whatever? So yeah, thank you so much for watching.